President Donald Trump gave a speech here at the White House Correspondents Dinner for the first time as a sitting president, but he didn't exactly command the room. The president attacked familiar foes, reporters, including several from CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Joe Biden.
Just remember, before I came along, if you wanted to see someone lose consciousness on the South Lawn of the White House, all you had to do is ask Joe Biden a question. Remember that.
But many of his jokes didn't seem to land, and some weren't even jokes at all. He riffed on Iran and the new ballroom he's building at the White House. He seemed to recognize at times it wasn't going well.
You know what? In other words, can't go up the stairs and make love. Does anybody get that? Well, I thought that was actually pretty good.
Inside the room, there were often long stretches of silence as Trump talked. He drew some laughs early on, particularly with a joke about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I hope that everyone finally got to enjoy their entire, very delicious beef tenderloins, very special beef. And I want you all to know that Bobby Kennedy, who's right here, personally ran over the cow in his car.
Earlier in the night, he shook hands with journalists who won awards, several of them honored for journalism, highly critical of Trump and his administration. We do expect to see him back on a similar stage. During the remarks, Trump vowed to attend the dinner when it takes place next year.
Caitlin, do you mind telling us real quick if you have a reaction on what the president said about you during the speech? Do you think Trump went too far, Caitlin, with that joke?
What's up, family? I hope you are doing well today. So we got a lot to talk about, and I want to start by saying this. You know I love breaking things down in plain English so we can all understand what's really going on. And today we're talking about the White House Correspondents Dinner. Now, President Trump attended that dinner for the first time as a sitting president. And let me tell you something, the mainstream media has been absolutely losing their minds ever since. They are triggered. They are upset. They are angry. And I'm going to break down exactly why, what happened, and what this whole thing actually means for regular people like you and me. So here's the deal. Donald Trump got up on that stage at the White House Correspondents Dinner, and he did what he always does. He went after the people who have been going after him for years. He roasted them. And I'm not talking roasted, you get it, rotisserie chicken, right? I'm not talking roast beef. He roasted the Democrats. He roasted the media. And the part that really set them off, the part that has CNN in full meltdown mode, is when he went after Caitlyn Collins. Now, for those of you who don't know, Caitlyn Collins is a CNN anchor. She's one of those reporters who has made a name for herself by being aggressively confrontational with Trump in press conferences. And look, I'm going to be real with you. She's good at her job in the sense that she knows how to get under his skin. She asks his tough questions. She doesn't back down. But here's the thing. When you spend years being the person who goes after the president every single day, when you are the one asking the gotcha questions, when you are the one who never smiles, when you are the one who's always looking for the angle to make him look bad, you can't turn around and act surprised when he finally gives it back to you. You can't dish it out for years and then cry when the plate comes back around. And that's exactly what happened here.
And we didn't do it the following day, and we didn't do it 2 weeks later. We did it when we were supposed to do it. It was a fantastic celebration. But I can exclusively reveal to you this evening that for the heaviest of the heavyweights, we will have sloppy Chris Christie, one of the sloppiest human beings you'll ever meet, fighting, I would say, I could mention the governor of Chicago, but I'm going to mention instead Jerry Nadler. And they're fighting for a big piece of cheesecake, big fat piece of cheesecake. Who the hell wrote that line? But it is true. And then you have a Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC plus 3. That's her 3 friends, right? AOC plus 3. And I watched her give that answer when she was over in Europe. It was not a good answer. If I ever gave that answer, I would be out of politics. Remember, you cannot have a 19-second wait time to answer really a very quite simple question. But we'll then have a rematch against an extreme, simple question on a foreign policy from Munich Security Conference. It was a big security conference, and this was our first time up in terms of that. And we had a sort of little preview. And then Anderson Cooper is going to fight Lawrence O'Donnell. I'm not a fan of Lawrence O'Donnell. I like Anderson, actually, because he's covered me well for many years. Then he went bad as soon as I went for politics. But for years, he loved interviewing. I did so many interviews with him, and he was great. But, you know, he's got a little different persuasion than me in many ways, actually. And Lawrence O'Donnell, never liked him, never thought he had any talent. But he's still making a living, so I can't knock it. But we had a contest for who had the lowest ratings and the lowest IQ on television. And that was actually Don Lemon, I think. You know, when I said that he's the dumbest man on television, I said, you know, when you say some things, you never make a comeback. It's not like, oh, gee, hey, Don, let's have dinner some night. California's policies of enabling wildfires, paying drug addicts to be homeless, giving free sex changes to illegals, and telling rich people they're going to take away, all of your money is going to be taken away. People are fleeing, and they're fleeing in droves. We can't have that in this country. It's becoming such a horrible and dangerous location that Ilhan Omar, one of my favorites, and her brother are thinking about moving together, very much in love. A video has surfaced recently of Ilhan giving a speech referring to World War II as World War XI. And they asked her about that. She thought she got it right. But I'm not surprised, because she's a low IQ person. And she's also a very dishonest person. And she ought to get the hell out of our country. She shouldn't be here. She shouldn't be in our country. She also calls her brother husband number one. Omar is reportedly being investigated for fraud. She revised her net worth. I was shocked to see that she was worth much more than $30 million. And then when the press got on her, she revised it slightly downward to less than 18,000. So she went from much more than 30 million to 18,000. And I know Democrats, and the word Democrat is something that's come into fashion. I changed the E with a U, and most people don't know that dumb has a B, so we don't have to worry about that.
So let me walk through what Trump actually said. He got up there and he pointed out that Caitlyn Collins never smiles. He said, and I quote, "I've known you for 10 years and I don't think I ever seen you smile." And then he said something that really got them hot. He said he thought she had landed a big sponsorship deal, but then he realized it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. Now, for those of you who don't know the Dylan Mulvaney story, Dylan Mulvaney is a trans influencer who Bud Light partnered with a while back. And that partnership cost Bud Light billions of dollars in market value. It was one of the biggest marketing disasters in American history. And Trump made that connection. He basically said, Caitlyn Collins looks like Dylan Mulvaney, especially because she never smiles. And the media lost their minds. They started screaming about how Trump was being transphobic. They started crying about how he was being mean to a woman. They started pointing out statements from CNN CEO defending her. They had panels on panels talking about how outrageous it was. But here's what I want you to think about, family. Think about all the years that CNN and the media have spent calling Trump a Nazi. Think about all the years they spent comparing him to Hitler. Think about all the years they had people on their network calling him a white supremacist, a racist, a pedophile, a threat to democracy. They had commentators on air saying the most vile, disgusting things about this man for nearly a decade. And the moment he gets on stage and makes jokes about a reporter not smiling, they act like he's committed a crime against humanity. That's the double standard. And it's so obvious that to individuals that I have seen individuals giving reactions to, it's like almost laughable to them. See, the thing is, if you don't like it done to you, don't do it to you. My mother will always say, treat others the way you want to be treated. Keep it fair across the board then, if that's the case, right? So I'm going to break it down even further because I want you to understand the full picture. The White Correspondents Association gave Caitlyn Collins an award that same night. They gave her an award for excellence under deadline pressure. And I'm not going to lie to you, family, that award was clearly given to her because she's been a thorn in Trump's side. That's what that award was. It wasn't about journalistic excellence. It was about rewarding someone who pisses off the president. And Trump knew it. He called it out and he said the award was fake. He said it was all about him, and he's right. The whole thing was a setup. They gave her the award, they patted her on the back, and then Trump got up there and reminded everybody that at the end of the day, she works for a network that has been nothing but propaganda against him. And here's where it gets even better. The CNN chairman, Mark Thompson, put out a statement saying they stand by their journalists and their right to report without government interference. But let me ask you something. When has CNN ever reported on Trump without bias? When has CNN ever been fair and balanced when it comes to this president? They haven't. They've been 100% negative 24/7 for years, and now they want to hide behind the First Amendment. Please. The First Amendment protects the press from the government. It doesn't protect them from being called out when they're dishonest. And it doesn't protect them from being roasted at a dinner when they spend years roasting the president.
He does to Caitlyn Collins is just outrageous.
You are the worst reporter. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
You, about survivors
you know why?
of
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth.
You know, I don't react every time he unfairly maligns reporters, news organizations, because it would be all I would do. I mean, I could sit here and whine and whine and whine. What's disappointing is not that plenty of us fellow journalists will speak up, but I really would like to hear it from somebody inside the Republican Party.
Now the Broadcast Award for Excellence Under Deadline Pressure. And this year's winner is my colleague and very good friend, Kaitlan Collins of CNN. Reporting by CNN's Kaitlan Collins on a historic showdown in the Oval Office between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky launched a memorable day of nonstop insight and analysis, including her exclusive interview with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. The WHCA is pleased to honor the deadline reporting of CNN's Kaitlan Collins. Let's give Caitlin another big round of applause.
I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlyn Collins on receiving her award. It was all about me. It's a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake, but I didn't mind. I said, Caitlyn, congratulations. But it was fake. There's no question about it. But she's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlyn, do you have a smile? Smile. You have a nice position. You're at CNN Fake News. You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlyn, just smile. But we attack, and I thought Caitlyn had really made it big with a major new sponsorship, but then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can, it was Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney cost Bud Light $35 billion in market cap. That was the worst commercial ever made, by the way, for those few people that want to hear that. Most people don't care, but I would. I wouldn't want to hire Dylan anytime soon. Think of it, they hired Dylan Mulvaney, and their market cap has gone down by $35 billion. Who wrote that commercial? It wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney.
President went on and on and on about Dylan and Budweiser and the money they lost. That was a really big smile. You know, women love to smile. They love to smile when they want to smile. They love to smile when they don't have to smile for a man. And quite honestly, if you're in front of Donald Trump, what is there to smile about?
Smile, Caitlyn, just smile. But we attack, and I thought Caitlyn had really made it big with a major new sponsorship, but then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney.
You know what? Caitlyn is way too classy to say it, so I will. Fuck you. Felon 47, you pathetic excuse for a president. every time Caitlyn Collins asks a question. You melt down like a spoiled old man who needs a diaper change. At the White House Correspondents Dinner, you had the chance to show dignity. Instead, you did what you always do. You took another cheap shot at Caitlyn Collins because she's one of the few journalists who refuses to let you bulldoze your way through an interview with lies, deflection, and nonsense. Let's be honest, this isn't about Caitlyn's award. This isn't about CNN. This is about your ego. You and your administration look absolutely terrified of Caitlyn Collins. Why else would you keep singling out one reporter? She asks the questions you don't want to answer. She knows the facts. She follows up when your administration tries to dodge. Every time she walks into the briefing room, your team knows they're going to have to work for every answer. And that's exactly why she gets under your skin. Caitlyn Collins has become one of the biggest thorn in your administration's side because she actually does her homework. She knows her facts. She asks the follow-up. She doesn't flinch when you try to intimidate her. She doesn't kiss the ring. She doesn't stroke your ego. She shows up, does her job, and leaves your communications team looking like they forgot to study for an exam. You can sneer at her. You can mock her. You can call her names. You can try to embarrass her in front of a room full of people. None of it changes the reality. She keeps exposing how uncomfortable you become when facing a smart, beautiful woman. The truly embarrassing part isn't Caitlyn. It's watching a 70-something-year-old president obsess over one reporter like she's the villain in his own personal soap opera. What does it say about a president when one journalist asking him straightforward questions is enough to make him shit his pants?
And I want to address something else that came out of this. The LGBTQ community, they got upset too. They said Trump was being transphobic by comparing Caitlyn Collins to Dylan Mulvaney. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert on what's offensive and what's not. But I will say this. Um, most people would say that comparison, from what I'm seeing individuals saying, was based on appearance. It was based on the fact that they look similar. And Trump was making a joke about a Bud Light sponsorship that went terribly wrong. That's it. But if you're looking for a reason to be offended, you're going to find one, right? But the reality is the media was looking for a reason to be outraged, and they found it. They always do, because here's the thing about the mainstream media. They need Trump. They need him to be the villain, and they need him to say things they can be outraged about, and that's how they keep their ratings up. That's how they keep their audience engaged. Drama, negativity. If Trump, disappeared tomorrow, God forbid, or let's put it like this, if Trump wasn't there to talk about, CNN's ratings will plummet, and they know it. We know it, and that's why every single thing he says gets blown up into a national crisis. A joke at a dinner becomes a front page story. A comparison to a trans influencer becomes an attack on LGBTQ community. It's exhausting and it's dishonest, because the simple fact is, if you don't want the jokes on you, don't have the jokes on him, and just be fair across the board. The individuals not joking about each other, and that'll be it, right? Simple as that. That's all I can say within that.
My. Was that the President of the United States? Well, it was his first ever speech at a White House Correspondents Dinner, and he was, in fact, speaking.
It lasted about an hour and 4 minutes, and the question you might reasonably have is, why? Before we bring in the panel, I want to read you a statement from CNN in the wake of the president's remarks tonight about CNN's Caitlyn Collins, who was honored tonight for her breaking news reporting. The statement reads, quote, Caitlyn Collins is an exceptional, trusted journalist being honored tonight for her depth of knowledge and the context she provides to audiences all over the world. She reports every day from the White House and the field with real strength and tenacity, and skillfully brings that reporting to the anchor chair and CNN platforms every day. We stand by her to the fullest extent, and we do.
And we should, and we must. And the president just talking about the respect he has for the journalists in this room. Frankly, I didn't see much of it in the last hour of his speech, but the president made additional attacks on some of our other colleagues, Anderson Cooper, Jake Tapper. And given that, I want to read this from CNN Chairman and CEO Mark Thompson. We stand by our journalists and the integrity and fair-mindedness with which the CNN team reports the news. Honest, accurate journalism may sometimes irritate politicians, but our right to report and present that reporting to the public without government interference is fully protected by the U.S. Constitution.
You realize they don't have bias in there. as most people would say.
CNN will continue to exercise this right. I am very eager to know what our panel makes of what we have heard tonight, and they're back along with Daniel Dale and Brian Stelter. I have to say, I kept thinking in my mind the way that this derailed so quickly. He got off to a start that many thought, oh, this sort of tone might strike a chord with many people resonating. He certainly shot himself in the foot, figuratively speaking, in terms of a missed opportunity, in my estimation. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the worst thing you can say is that it just wasn't funny at all. It just wasn't funny. It was mean and small, but you can be mean and small and funny. This was mean and small and not funny. And he didn't talk about any American besides himself and his enemies. There are people at home who can't figure out how to pay for gas. There are people at home who worry about their nephew who's serving overseas. There's people at home who have real problems who would love to see somebody reflect their reality and maybe make fun of some of their enemies, some of their problems. He missed the entire opportunity to talk to those people, and he started off as this kind of like cuddly Care Bear Trump, and then he turned into this like rabid grizzly Trump, just kind of wandered around in the backyard, like, you know, attacking things, and then wandered off the stage. And I just, you know, it's hard to be disappointed given what I've seen for the past 10 years, but it's like Lucy and the football. Here I am once again disappointed.
Well, and just from a performance standpoint and comparing it to previous presidents at these events, he bombed. He objectively bombed. There were missed opportunities. Listen, I didn't think he was going to work a lot of substance into it, but as I said, he's someone who's actually very capable of humor, and instead he went for really low ball, unfunny jokes. Like, at least make the punchline land. And it's been reported that comedian Tony Hinchcliffe helped advise on his remarks. This has his hands all over. You'll remember him from that infamous Madison Square Garden rally calling Puerto Rico an island of trash. He's somebody who really just goes low. He demeans women. He leans into racist tropes. And I felt like those fingerprints were on this speech. It's such a missed opportunity because it is one thing you can't say is Trump is a showman, but that was not Obama at the White House Correspondents Dinner. It wasn't George Bush. He bombed.
Now, I want to switch gears for a second and talk about something that I think is really important for us to understand. President Trump deserves credit for even hosting this dinner in the first place. Remember what happened, right? The original White House Correspondents Dinner was canceled because of what the media called security concerns. But we all know what really happened. A left-wing individual tried to assassinate the president, and instead of the media condemning that violence, they made excuses. They said it was Trump's fault for being divisive. They said he created an environment that led to the attack, and then they canceled the dinner because they were scared. But Trump brought it back. He hosted it again. He made sure everyone was protected. He made sure the event happened. And that's what I'm talking about when I say this man has a backbone. He doesn't back down. He doesn't let terrorism, left wing or otherwise, stop him from doing what he said he was going to do. And the media should be grateful that he went forward with it. Instead, they used the platform to attack him even more. And that's the world we live in. So let me give you the takeaway, family. What are we supposed to learn from all of this? Here it is. The mainstream media is not your friend. They are not objective. They are not fair. They are not balanced. They are an arm of the Democratic Party, and they have been waging a war against Donald Trump and against conservative values for years. And when you finally push back, when you finally give them a taste of their own medicine, they cry like babies, right? They can't handle it. Now, am I fond of everything the president may have said or not said? No. But the simple fact is, it's the principle that he is human, and they attack this man so much that the simple fact is, I mean, what do you expect, right? What do you expect when you poke the bear so much? And he tried to humorously come back in his own sense of humor to respond, making humor out of it in regards to which he seemed that it was humorous. So they can dish it out every single day. They can call you a Nazi. They can call him a racist. They can call you a threat to democracy. But the moment you make a joke about one of their reporters, suddenly you're the bad guy. That's the game. If you don't like it, don't do it at all. The media don't do it, and then he won't do it. That's how I look at it across the board. And now you see it. The lesson here is don't be fooled by the media's fake outrage. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking that Trump is the aggressor here. He's responding to years of attacks. And if they can't take the heat, they should get out the kitchen, right? Now, I want to close this out with some scripture because I think it applies here. Proverbs chapter 26, verses 4-5 says, "Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, and he will be wise in his own eyes." Right? I'm going to say it again. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. Now, I know that sounds contradicting, or you know, contradicting, but here's what it means. There are times when you ignore foolishness because engaging with it drags you down to their level. But there are also times when you have to answer the fool directly so that they don't walk around thinking they get away with it. And that's what Trump did at the dinner. He spent years ignoring the media's attack. He spent years being the bigger man while they called him every name in the book. But at some point, you have to answer the fool. You have to let them know that you see what they're doing. You have to expose their hypocrisy in front of everybody. And that's exactly what happened. The media thought they could keep attacking him without consequence. And he reminded them that there's always a receipt. There's always a receipt. There's always a bill that comes due. And for the non-spiritual people watching, here's the life wisdom. You can't keep taking shots at somebody and expect them to never fire back. That's not how life works. If you spend years disrespecting someone, bullying someone, lying about someone, don't be shocked when they finally decide to stand up and put you in your place. And the media built this dynamic. They created this enemy, and now they're mad that he's fighting back. That's the lesson. Actions have consequences. And on that night, Trump made sure the media felt the weight of theirs. So let me know what you think in the comments, family. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, spread that peace, love, and positivity, and let the love supersede the hate, family. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.